a dog walker. It was fairly easy. You pick up the dog, you walk it, and then you drop it off. The dog's owner would pay you for the time you spent with the dog. I love dogs very much. This is a great gig. I'll make money and have fun, too, I said to myself as I wrote down the phone numbers from the ads. I started calling next day after school. The first person I called had already found a dog walker. I called the next number and a woman answered. I told her I was calling about the ad. She told me to come over. I went to the address, which turned out to be an optical store. The woman I had talked to met me at the door with her dog. She gave me a frisbee and said, "Honey, please wear this monster out. He needs to release all his energy. He's been following me around all day." The dog's name was Max, and he couldn't sit still. There was a park nearby. It was clear that Max loved the frisbee. He couldn't keep his eyes off it. I threw it to him. He jumped really high and caught it. Then he brought it to me. I noticed something while playing with Max. He was only able to catch the frisbee about half the time. I thought he should be able to catch it more often. Even though he jumped really high every time, for some reason he was missing a lot of my throws. I started watching him closely as I was throwing him the frisbee. Again, he missed it a few times, but I'd figured out why. He had to squint because of the sun. He couldn't catch the frisbee because he couldn't see it well. The name of Max's human was Zoe. As I was dropping Max off, I told her about what I saw at the park. "You own an optical store. If you can find a pair of sunglasses for Max, we can try them on him tomorrow. That way the sun won't bother him and he'll catch the frisbee every time," I said. Zoe smiled. "Sunglasses for a dog? I don't think Max will like that very much, but I'll try to find something," she said. The next day, when I came to pick up Max, he was wearing sunglasses. Zoe said, "What do you think? These are actually for kids, but they fit Max perfectly." I secured them to the back of his head with an elastic band. Max looked kind of funny, but I was sure this would work. I took him to the park. Thanks to the sunglasses, the sun didn't bother him anymore. He caught the frisbee every time. More importantly, he was so much happier than the day before. I took some videos of him. I showed them to Zoe as I was dropping him off. She was really surprised. "Those sunglasses don't bother him at all. He seems really happy," she said. That night at dinner, I told my mom about it. She said, "Jada, this is the most ridiculous idea I've ever heard in my life. If that poor dog could talk, he'd tell you it was stupid," and laughed. Melissa laughed at me as well. I was really upset. I said, "Sorry, my fault. Why would I ever tell you anything?" and got up from the dinner table. After school, when I went to pick up Max again, Zoe said, "Jada, can you come in for a minute? There's something important I want to talk to you about." I was curious. We went to her office. I couldn't imagine that this conversation would change my life. She said, "I have a friend who is a veterinarian. She came over last night. I told her about Max's sunglasses. She loved the idea of sunglasses for dogs. She told me there's definitely a need for it. Dogs have very sensitive eyes. In the summer, the sun bothers them, and in the winter, the snow. You can patent this idea and create a brand of sunglasses for dogs. I'm sure it would be a huge hit." I thought about it all night. I think it's a great idea, but it's your idea, and that's why I'd like us to be business partners. What do you think? I was really surprised. "Of course, I'd love to do it. Thank you for looking out for me," I said. Zoe said, "And I want to thank you for this wonderful idea. We will need to sign certain contracts to become partners. But since you are underage, we need permission from one of your parents." I knew that my mom would probably say no to something like this, but my dad would definitely support it. I told her, "No problem at all. My dad will come by as soon as he can." The following weeks were like a dream. Our doggy sunglasses idea was an instant hit. Our sales blew up as soon as we released them. My dad and I opened a bank account. Zoe began to transfer my portion of the money into the account. Soon, I had $2 million. My mom had no idea what was going on. It's time to tell her, I thought. That was also the day I left home. I went to my room and packed a suitcase. Melissa and my mom were playing a board game in the living room. They stopped and looked at me when I walked in. They seemed upset. My mom asked, "Where do you think you're going?" Gesturing towards my suitcase. "I'm going to live with my dad from now on. I see that you two are doing well as usual. I don't think you'll even notice that I'm gone," I said. My mom did not respond. Melissa had a grin on her face. It upset me that Mom didn't say anything. I forced a smile and said, "By the way, the idea of doggy sunglasses which you made fun of wasn't so ridiculous after all." I'm rich now thanks to that idea. I bought a house. That's where my dad and I are going to live. My mom was obviously shocked. I left before she could say anything. My driver was waiting outside. He opened the car door for me. Mom and Melissa followed me outside. They were shocked when they saw the luxury car. My mom said angrily, "Jada, if you're rich, then you owe me part of this money. I'm your mom. How come it's the first I'm hearing of this?" "You don't know anything because you only care about Melissa," I replied. My mom changed her strategy after that, saying, "Jada, my love, why are you talking like this? Both of you are my daughters. I might have paid a little more attention to Melissa because she's younger, but you are my daughter too." I knew my mom was only saying this because she wanted my money. We both knew that Melissa was and would always be her favorite. I hopped into the car. The driver closed the door. I could no longer hold back my feelings. Tears started pouring down my face. My mom couldn't love me simply because I was her daughter. She needed a reason to love me, and it hurt me deeply to know that the only reason she could love me was money.